Well, hello, thank you for joining me today again on the Church History Trail. And we're continuing here in Comber, and we're still at Windmill Hill. And where we are is we're actually outside the non-subscribing Presbyterian church here in Comber. Of course, this church is the church that the Andrews family built. They also provided the ground for it, and they also attended it. Of course, that's the Andrews family of the Titanic fame. And you can see the monster, and you can see a wee pigeon there just on top of the chimney. And there you can see the sign. Which says Comber Non-Subscribing Presbyterian Church, and it's the Reverend Ian Gilpin. And so this ground was originally meant to be for the house, the Andrews house, but instead Thomas's great grandfather James, he gave the site for the church, and so his son John and also John Miller, they built the church, of course, and it was meant to be built in, it was built in 1838, but of course the night of the great wind in Comber, the windmill actually was damaged, and it damaged the church, and so it didn't get actually opening until 1840. Now, Thomas Andrews was born at Ardora House in Comber on the 7th of February 1873, and Tom was a pupil at the Royal Belfast Academical Institution, which is known as INST, from 1884 till 1889, and you can see the side there of the manse. And on leaving school, Thomas started with Harland and Wolff as an apprentice, and he demonstrated his great enthusiasm actually in that job. And it was in the drawing office, of course, that Tom really began to shine, and he became involved in the design of many of the great ships of the day. Now, in 1907, he was made a managing director of Harland and Wolff. And Harland and Wolff constructed many ships for the White Star Line, and Tom was involved in the design of many of these ships, including the infamous Titanic. And so we're just going down the side of the church, and you can see, I think that's Monkey Tree or Monkey Puzzle Tree, I can't remember its exact name, but certainly is a unique tree, isn't it? And so this is the church hall, which of course was opened in 1878, as you can see from above the door. And on Wednesday the 10th of April in 1912, shortly after 12 noon, the RMS Titanic set sail from Southampton's White Star Dock on her maiden voyage to New York. But she never made it, because on Sunday night, the 15th of April 1912, she sank to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean after colliding with an iceberg the size of a mountain. Now, 1,503 people lost their lives, and Tom Andrews was one of them. Of course, he was the designer, one of the designers of the ship. And so Thomas lost his life on the Titanic, and of course you can see the church. It's a beautiful building, there's no doubt about it. And of course you can see, as I say, the date stone. It was built in 1838, but it didn't get opening until 1840, a couple of years later, because of the night of the high winds. And of course, whenever Thomas died in that disaster, Comber was in complete shock. And although Tom's body lies at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. His memory is still preserved today in the graveyard of this church in COMBER, where can be found the memorial grave of Thomas Andrews and also the grave of the rest of the Andrews family. And this is the grave here and the plot of the Andrews family, as you can see. And so I'll take you around and let you have a wee look at that. And so this is the family plot here. And I'll just read out the headstone to you. It says, in loving memory of their second son Thomas, born 7th of February 1873, lost at sea in the foundering of the SS Titanic 15th of April 1912. And it says, pure, just, generous, appreciative and heroic. It says he gave his life that others may be saved. And of course it reminds me of Christ, because that's exactly what Christ done for us, isn't it? The Son of God gave his life for us so that we could be saved. But the difference between us and the Son of God is that Jesus himself is perfect. He's without sin, as the Bible says. And of course he's also God himself. He's God. He's the Son of God. And the scripture says that God loved us so much that he gave his only begotten Son. And so this is the monument then of the Andrews family. And it's the grave of the Andrews family, and it's also the memorial to Thomas Andrews, who lost his life at the Titanic, on the Titanic. But not only is there a memorial here, as I say, to Thomas Andrew, who was a victim on the Titanic, but we also have one to an ex-Prime Minister of Northern Ireland. And it says here, and I'll try and read it out, tell you if you can see that. It says, in loving memory of the Right Honourable John M. Andrews, born 17th of July 1871, and he died the 5th of August 1956. He was Prime Minister of Northern Ireland 1940 to 1943. He gave long service in Parliament representing Mid-Down, and then his wife Jessie Andrews of Bolton, born the 3rd of July 1874 and died the 26th November 1950. And then it goes on there. So there's Thomas Andrews, who is not buried here, but the memorial's here for him, the Titanic victim. But then you've also got an ex-Prime Minister of Northern Ireland who's buried here, John M. Andrews. So that's fantastic. I'll let you see that again. You can see their Prime Minister, Northern Ireland, 1940, I think that's 1940 to 1943. And of course, as I showed you yesterday, you get a good view from up here, as you can see, on Windmill Hill. And there's Scrabo. Still not a clear view. We didn't have a clear view yesterday, and we don't have a clear view today either. And so if you enjoy the channel, then please like and subscribe. And also, if you're into the history of the Titanic and the Andrews family, then why don't you check out those other wee videos that I done, and some of the interviews that I done. I interviewed Sandra, the minister's wife here, and she certainly has a vast knowledge of the Andrews family. And so check out those. God bless.